She loved him in the quiet ways that never asked for recognition. In the way she remembered his smallest habits, the way she adjusted her world around his comfort, and the way she believed that loving him was enough to keep him close. Every morning began with his thoughts, and every night ended with her prayers for his happiness. She never measured how much she gave, because love, to her, was not something to be counted. She believed in him when he doubted himself. She stood beside him when life felt heavy, offering patience instead of pressure. While others saw his flaws, she saw potential. While he struggled to find direction, she became his anchor, steady and unwavering. Loving him felt natural, like breathing, even when it exhausted her. She ignored the moments when her needs went unanswered. She convinced herself that love meant understanding, even when it hurt. When he forgot important days, she forgave. When he chose silence over conversation, she waited. When he grew distant, she moved closer, believing that loyalty could fix what distance was slowly breaking. Her love was visible in sacrifices no one noticed. Dreams postponed. Feelings swallowed. Tears wiped away before they could be seen. She told herself that real love required endurance, and she was willing to endure anything if it meant staying by his side. She believed that one day he would look at her and finally see how deeply she loved him. But love, when given without balance, slowly becomes invisible. The more she gave, the more he grew accustomed to receiving without effort. Her presence became expected, not appreciated. Her loyalty became assumed, not cherished. And still, she loved him, unaware that love alone could not hold someone who had already begun to let go. She did not realize that while she was building a future in her heart, he was quietly learning how to live without her. She believed in forever, while he only believed in convenience. And in her devotion, she failed to notice that the space between them was growing wider, filled with unspoken truths and emotional distance. The change did not happen all at once. It arrived quietly, disguised as busyness and excuses. Conversations became shorter. Messages went unanswered. His laughter belonged elsewhere, while she waited for moments that never came. He was still there, but emotionally, he had already begun to leave. She sensed it before she understood it. The warmth in his voice faded. His eyes no longer searched for her in a room. When she spoke, he listened with impatience, as if her words were interruptions rather than expressions of love. She blamed herself, wondering what she had done wrong, unaware that the betrayal had nothing to do with her. There was no dramatic confession, no visible proof. The infidelity lived in his absence. In the way he shared his thoughts with someone else. In the way he protected his phone but not her heart. In the way he found comfort in another presence while she carried the weight of loneliness alone. She tried harder, believing effort could restore what was slipping away. She softened her voice, lowered her expectations, and silenced her pain. She told herself that love required patience, even when patience felt like self-erasure. But the more she tried to hold him, the more he pulled away. He did not see her tears. Or perhaps he chose not to. Her pain became background noise to his growing detachment. He found excitement elsewhere, validation elsewhere, emotional connection elsewhere. And she remained where she had always been, loyal, hopeful, and slowly breaking. The betrayal was not physical, but it was deeply emotional. He gave someone else the parts of himself she had been waiting for. His attention, his honesty, his presence. And in doing so, he left her standing in a relationship that existed only in her heart. She began to feel invisible. Like her love had lost its value. Like everything she had given meant nothing at all. And still, she stayed, holding on to the memory of who he used to be, unaware that she was mourning someone who was still alive but already gone. The pain did not arrive suddenly. It settled slowly, becoming part of her daily existence. She woke up tired, not from lack of sleep, but from carrying emotions she could no longer explain. Loving him had begun to feel like losing herself. She questioned her worth in the silence he left behind. She wondered why her love was not enough. Why her loyalty was not valued. Why she felt alone even when she was not. The relationship that once felt like home now felt like a place she no longer belonged. She replayed memories, searching for the moment everything changed. She blamed herself for expecting too much, for caring too deeply, for loving without limits. She convinced herself that if she could just love him better, he would return. But love does not return someone who has already chosen to leave emotionally. The realization came quietly, not through words, but through exhaustion. Through the understanding that love should not feel like constant loss. That loyalty should not feel like self-destruction. That waiting should not hurt this much. She saw herself clearly for the first time. A woman who had given everything and received almost nothing. A woman who had stayed loyal to someone who no longer chose her. And in that clarity, something inside her broke, but something else began to heal. She stopped asking questions that had no answers. She stopped chasing affection that was no longer hers. She stopped shrinking herself to fit into a space where she was no longer wanted. Letting go hurt, but staying hurt more. For the first time, she chose herself. Not out of anger, but out of necessity. She realized that love should not cost her dignity. And that walking away was not weakness, but survival. He left quietly, without understanding the damage he had caused. Without realizing that her silence was not acceptance, but exhaustion. He walked away as if she meant nothing at all, unaware that he was leaving behind someone who had loved him with everything she had. She grieved, not just the relationship, but the future she had imagined. She mourned the version of him she had loved, and the version of herself she had lost. Healing was slow, filled with moments of doubt and reflection. But with each passing day, she grew stronger. She learned that love should be mutual. That effort should be shared. That loyalty should never be taken for granted. She learned that being alone was better than being invisible. And that self-respect was more important than holding on to someone who no longer cared. His absence taught her more than his presence ever did. It taught her boundaries. It taught her strength. It taught her that love does not abandon, neglect, or betray silently. She did not hate him. She simply released him. And in doing so, she reclaimed herself. The woman he left behind was not broken. She was becoming someone wiser, stronger, and more aware of her worth. She loved him with everything she had. And even though he left as if she meant nothing at all, she finally understood that her love was never the problem. It was simply given to the wrong person. Section 4 word count. 500 words.